Hello and welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Sales. I'm Ashleigh Early.
And I'm Kasey Jones.
And today we are so excited because we have the infamous, the amazing Lauren Bailey, aka LB. She is the founder of Factor8 Consulting and GirlsClub. And Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have you on. And if our pre-interview chit chat is any indicator, this is going to be a fun conversation.
Seriously. I already love you both. This is going to be great. Good luck ending this early.
Yeah. So enjoy. This might be a long episode. We'll see. But I just kind of want to dive in because one of the reasons we reached out to you to get you on here is because GirlsClub, is an absolutely fantastic organization. I'd love to hear a little bit more about it for our listeners who aren't familiar with it, but also because one of the, from my perspective externally, key achievements that GirlsClub has done so far is rolled out one of the best mentorship programs specifically focused on pairing women in sales with women in sales leaders and formalizing that relationship. So tell us about GirlsClub and about that mentorship program.
Yeah, good. All right. GirlsClub is 2 years old and it's my passion and my love. I've spent 15 years in the virtual or inside sales industry. And as I came up as a sales leader, I was pretty much the only skirt at the table. And in fact, you know what? Let me just stop the canned BS because that's a lie. There was another woman as I came up and she was awful to me. Yeah. I mean, awful to me. So it's a nicer story when I say I was the only one because I think I wish I was the only one. But I was raised by a pack of wolves, which is like all the male sales leaders in the inside sales industry. And it wasn't until I came out and started my own company, Factor8, where we do training for those frontline reps and managers that I realized the power of mentors and role models. I was invited to join Lori Richardson and Jill Conrath's group called Women Sales Pros. Mm-hmm. And they're all female entrepreneurs. And I'd literally never had a female mentor or colleague or role model before. And it made all the difference in the world to me and my business and me personally. I thought, wait a minute, this is powerful. I didn't know what I didn't have back then. So that helped inspire GirlsClub. And the rest of that story is I just got asked to sit on one too many panels at conferences about why there aren't more women in sales. Yeah. And like just listening to the same conversation go in circles, I was like, I'm done talking. I'm going to solve for this. Yeah. And GirlsClub bites off a very specific piece of the problem. It's not about getting women into sales. It's about women who have already decided that they're in sales, whether that was on purpose or not, because most of us wind up here accidentally. It's about helping them get to the next level. Yeah. So about half the women in GirlsClub are aspiring leaders. The other half, and this was a surprise to me, are women who are already frontline managers, leaders, supervisors who aren't getting the training and support and mentorship that they need. And I didn't build it for that, but it's helping them so much. So there was the first of 272 surprises in starting GirlsClub. So GirlsClub's a community, and at the heart of it is a training program designed for those women who are aspiring or need the support. And I describe it like a stool, you guys. One leg of the stool is the skills training. It's the competencies. It's how do you run a sales meeting? It's how do you do call coaching? It's the job training that you don't get when you get promoted from a rep to a manager, right? Here's how the job's different and here's how to do it. Really tactical. The second leg of the stool is confidence. That is the differentiator, if you will. Yeah. You don't hear that talked about enough. No. And it's based on this idea that women aren't raising their hands. We're not going for it. And it's a confidence gap. And I recognize it because I've had it and I've lived it. So that's the second leg of the stool. The third leg of the stool, where you guys are really focused, is community. So it's pairing them with a female leader from another company, but as a mentor. But it's helping them also connect with the other women at their level. And let's be honest, there's so few of us that we have to go cross company, cross industry, cross state and country lines to build that community. And then the third piece of that community part is thought leaders. So we help expose them to role models. That's who our thought leaders are. The badass women who are at the top and who have made it. And we do really cool things to help them learn from and connect with those women. So that's the three legs. And then the seat on the stool is the spotlight. So what we try to do is help them build their brand inside their company and outside their company as well, shining some spotlight on them. So that's the stool that is Girls Club, and it's fulfilling, it's inspiring, and it's been tremendously successful. We've had 2 cohorts, and the promotion rate is awesome.
This sounds absolutely incredible.
It's so fun.
So it sounds really fun, but also incredibly valuable. It's funny. I think there's a sort of a generational gap or difference in terms of mentorship as a woman in business. So I am technically a millennial, but only by like a year. And when I talk to younger millennials, they are so much more likely to say that, oh, I've got 5 women mentors, and I never had one.
They go out and ask for it.
They go and ask for it. But I also feel like, when we were coming up, there was much more this understanding that like there is only one seat at the table for a woman. And once the woman is there, she ain't helping anybody.
Oh my God, it was
rise up.
Exactly right.
And I think there's so many of us that had that experience where it's like most of my experience early in my career of dealing with more senior women is that they were truly, truly awful.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many of us that like carry that kind of like workplace trauma with us and have sort of made it our mission to change that game. And I love like, everything that you were describing is like, I think, good Lord, if I had that 15 years ago. And I think one of the things I also think is so powerful is the other thing I see with women in sales is women leave sales.
Oh yeah.
At such a high rate. Like the last sales team I was on, and it was a team of SDRs, 50-50 men and women. All the men are still in sales. There's only 1 out of like 8 women that are still in sales because they all were just like, there isn't a future for me. I'm never gonna, and we were at an enterprise tech company or a tech company that sold to enterprise. So there was no pathway from SDR to account executive. There was no inside sales team. And so it was like, I
don't see a future. I
don't see a future. And some of the men got that, but none of the women did. And so all the women migrated. And
we vote with our employment. And that's one of the things that we address at Girls Club. And we don't, it's maybe not in a way you expect. We don't address it in the way that it's wrong and we have to change the workplace.
Yeah.
We address it in a way that says, you're voting with your employment, but let me ask you a question. Did you ever raise your hand?
Yeah.
You go talk to somebody about your career path and your aspirations, or did you assume you weren't invited to the party? And we teach how to go and do that. I've got so many good stories to share about that. And I'll summarize one for you. I was on a panel with a CMO who'd come up at Microsoft. So we're talking a high performing, powerful, smart cookie of a lady.
Yeah.
And the story she told was how her boss was having her interview his replacement, right? So it was like, all right, you're going to get a new boss. I need you to help me pick who this is. Right. And then she got through half the interview. She was like, I can do this job better than any of these turkeys.
Yeah.
And she was so pissed off about it. She left.
Yeah.
Later, she came back around and circled with that. And he was like, oh my God, I never knew you wanted it. You never said anything. I would have loved to have you in that job. Right. So she just shot her career in the foot because she didn't speak up.
And I do. And Ashleigh and I have talked about this a bunch. And especially when I have a lot of conversations with people, the term I use is aggressively humble. I think women and people of color, especially, I don't know, we're sort of taught like, no, you sit there, heads down, you do the work, and someone's going to notice
they don't.
that you're really good. And it's like,
no,
it doesn't
tap you on the fucking shoulder.
It doesn't work that way. And especially if you're at a big company where you're the leader has 20, 30, 40, 50 people underneath them. Like, dude, if you're not in the room making your case and being a self-advocate,
it will not happen.
It won't happen. And so I love everything about what you're doing.
Well, it's interesting hearing, I mean, you talk about the generational gap. I'm a little bit younger. I'm more of a solidly millennial thing. And it's interesting because I I'm very lucky. I didn't experience there was one woman with a seat at the table and it was very, very cutthroat. I experienced kind of the opposite. I experienced companies that were saying, we need more women in here. And I got dragged in and I became a token. Look, we're promoting women. I actually was at 2 different companies where I, as a frontline manager, was like not the diversity hire, but it occurred to me after they hired me, like, I'm the highest ranking woman in this company. That's effed up. Yeah. And I am not ready for this. But it's interesting because they're trying to get there. They know there's a problem, but they weren't doing anything to give me the skills that you're talking about in terms of like how to run a sales meeting. No joke, had been a frontline manager for about 2 years before the leadership sat me down and said, you need to be doing one-on-ones with your team every single week.
Well, there's a great idea.
You didn't know.
I didn't know.
No, and no one did it with me when I was a rep. No one did it with me.
Yeah, exactly. We got to teach them what to do and how to be successful so they continue to rise. But it also fills that confidence gap. Yeah. Like, we're not raising our hands because we don't feel 100% ready. Yeah. Right. So here's the other instigator of the program was the HP study published in Forbes, the confidence gap. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A man applies if he's got 70% of the qualifications, a woman waits for 100% of the qualifications. And as I've talked about this around the country, people laugh. They're like, don't you mean more like 20% for men and 120% for women? Because that's what it feels like. Yeah. So part of why we wanted to make this skill-based was because we felt like if you feel like you're not ready for that job, then we're going to help give you the skills, right? So that you can do the job better than the turkeys in it right now, because they haven't been taught either, right? It's not just women who aren't getting the leadership development and the job training, if you will. So that it's a really, it's a powerful synergetic combination, right? It's that 1 + 1 = 10 in this case, where you give the skills, the confidence, and the community, and it's this 10x effect. Because we're hitting all of the gaps that we've felt growing up. You guys, I have to tell you this story about like we're not raising our hands, and if I go too long, I promise cut it here. Cut it here, editing department. But this one is powerful. So I'm speaking at a company women's event in Seattle, and it was there's a panel of 3 of us. There was about 50 women there. Incredible company. I'm going to go ahead and share it because they are incredible. It's Outreach. And Outreach flew women from their other offices to come in for this, right? I mean, they get it and have for many, many years. So if you're a woman who's not feeling seen or heard in that area, check out Outreach. So we're doing the mingle ahead of time, and they're like 5 or 7 token guys showed up to the event. And I love that. And I try to make them feel more comfortable. I will seek out the dudes and talk to them because like they're not used to that feeling. That's normal for us, but not for them, right? And it's important to me that guys don't ever feel like Girls Club is this man-hating club. We have a ton of men involved in Girls Club, and we love them. They're mentors, they're allies, they're advocates. And I can tell you what that means later if you care. Anyway, so I'm talking with this dude. His name's Josh, and he's 12. I mean, he just looks 12 years old. Yeah. He'd been hired literally the week before. So he hadn't gotten like 5 full days of employment yet. And we're standing next to he and his boss, Ross. And we're just, BSing, drinking wine. And in the middle of that, he says to his boss, Ross, how do you move up in this company? So we're talking about what Girls Club is about, right? And Ross answers him about the paths and the this and the that and how it all works. And at the end, I said, I hope you don't mind. I got to stick my nose in for a second. Ross, was it weird that Josh just asked you that question? Because he's been here a minute, right? Mm-hmm. And Ross was like, no, I love seeing this. This is fantastic. Like, I don't mind answering it. I think everybody should ask it. And that's why we built it. And Outreach has done a great job of that. And I was like, that's how it should work. Flash forward 30 minutes. We're at the end of the panel. There's 50 women in the room, and one in the back asks a question. Her name, I cannot remember. She says, I am the top producing SDR in the team. I've been so for 2 years. How soon is too early to start talking about promotions?
Oh my God.
4 days, dude. 2 years of top performance. And she wanted some insight about when's the right time. I don't want it to be too soon. I don't want to come across as pushy or aggressive or that I think I'm ready yet. I don't want people to think I know it all. I don't want to be judged poorly for being too aggressive. And it's just a damn shame that we've given that message to women, because let's be honest, in society we have.
Yep.
And that as women, we grabbed that and internalized it and haven't fought against that.
That is, I mean, that's it. That's the story. And that, I think we've all seen that like a million times in, on teams we're on. And it's really interesting. I think what I keep thinking about, because I keep thinking about how powerful this must be. And I realize the biggest sort of jump I made in my career is because I was at a dead end job. I decided to get my MBA at night, and while I was going through it, the first class that they make you take is, I don't know, it's one where you do like a million assessments and you understand kind of where you want to go and all these things. But the big thing is half of it is negotiation. And like, I don't know, 8 months or something into this whole program, I wind up interviewing for a new job. I didn't even really think about it. I just I'd gone through this whole negotiation thing. And so I was super confident. And so I went into, negotiating for this new gig really aggressively, all of these things. And it sort of set this precedent at this company where every time I'd have a one-on-one, I'd be like, well, I like doing this. I don't like that. How can I do more of this and less of that? And was constantly doing it. And I just assumed everyone was like that.
When did you learn that you were different?
I remember talking to my boss, who I just viewed as like the most incredible boss. He really helped me. He became a real sponsor for me. And he's the one that when they had this like open marketing position, and I had just gotten denied a promotion to account manager. And he was like, Kasey, I think this is for you. And I've told leadership and they want to interview you for this. And I remember talking to him a little while later, and he was like, no, Kasey, I don't do this with everybody because they don't do it with me. He was like, I don't know where half the team wants to go. You just constantly talk to me about it. And I look back on that, and it was having this experience outside of work of giving me some of these skills. I didn't even really think about the connection until years later, hindsight 2020. Yeah. But when you have this structured skills of how to do these things, it becomes so much easier to have the confidence that you're talking about.
But Kasey, there's also there's the role modeling that happened with that too. You have to experience, you have to see it. So part of what you got were the skills. The other part of what you got was the experience of advocating, of talking, of negotiating, right? And then if you had a positive experience, all too often we'll try it. It doesn't go well because we got some jerk manager or the wrong, right? And then it's quashed. So if more people could hear your story and that becomes normal, it helps. And that's what the Girls Club community does, because they're going to hear that story from 50 different women. And all of a sudden it's not one shining star Kasey in your company, because that's everybody. What you were.
Yeah.
Right? It's normal.
Well, what's really funny, I was just going to say, it's the third leg of your stool. It's the community. It's also because I was in class with all these other people that were really, really figuring out how to get to that next level in their career. And none of them were, I don't think any of them were in sales, but we were constantly sharing stories. And so it made being around other people that were talking about the self-advocacy they were doing and all this, it just made it seem much more natural. And it took me years to even realize that that's why I was able to do that. Yeah. But that is 100% it. And I can't even imagine if I'd had that experience, but with all women,
right?
All women doing similar things, holy moly, it would have been just, I don't know, rocket ship.
It is though. Yeah. But I had the very same experience. I was telling you about women sales pros, and suddenly being surrounded by super strong, smart, helpful female entrepreneurs, which was my new role, right? Yeah. I wasn't sales leader anymore. I wasn't training leader anymore. I was business owner. Yeah. And I had a massive confidence crisis about being a business owner. Do I know any other female business owners in my work. No, I didn't know a one. I felt like a fraud.
And being an
First few years
entrepreneur,
I
you
lived
don't
there,
know.
I felt like a fraud.
Totally. Being an entrepreneur, you have no idea what you're doing. Like that's the
Right.
thing about entrepreneurship. It's kind of a learn as you
Whole
go
new adventure.
experience.
Yeah, you can put whatever the hell you want on your business card, which is nice because
Yeah,
I never got to the executive level in corporate America.
You two are making me feel so good about starting a business 5 months ago.
Atta girl, Ashleigh.
Yeah.
No clue. Okay. I'm supposed to feel like everything is perpetually on fire. Oh wait, everything is perpetually on fire right now. But that's a different story.
You are where you should be. You
No,
are on your path.
It's really interesting hearing you guys talk about this because I had the confidence when it came to negotiation. I was trained by my dad I have thanked him for this profusely and cited him several times on this podcast to call this out. I was taught at a very young age. My dad worked tangentially with Microsoft for years. And I remember him coming home when I was like 7 or 8, I think. He had met Bill Gates and Bill Gates gave him a dead fish handshake. And he came back and he said, I am not letting my girls ever give anyone a dead fish. So I was 7 and I learned how to do a proper handshake.
Oh my God, I'm working with my little ones at that age too.
Oh, awesome.
They do, they dead fish and they look away and I'm like, boys, this is not gonna
you
happen.
were learning this. And that helped me in high school. That helped me in college. That helped me every step of the way. But the other thing he gave me was the confidence and the skills to negotiate salary. So when I went in and negotiated for my first sales job, I hardballed it. And I was like, I kind of said, screw it. I said, there's no harm. I'll try. And sure enough, and I did that with the next job I got and with the next job I got. And all of a sudden I was in my 3rd or 4th sales job, still in IC. And we're doing the infamous lunch conversation where people's salaries get brought up.
Oh yeah.
And I realized I made 30 grand more than everybody else at the table.
Woo!
Yeah.
Which was super exciting,
yeah,
but broke my heart because I was the least experienced person at the table.
I did an informal poll recently, and the average male does 3 rounds of salary negotiation, and the average woman was a little less than half a round.
Yep.
Like we accept the first offer or we do 1 round.
And it's really interesting. It's like, and I've had this conversation with my brother. He's never, like, I remember talking to my parents when I was like in my 20s and I, say that I was in salary negotiations, and my mom would be like, oh God, you don't want to do that. I mean, you should just take it. You don't want to piss them off. And it's like, and I asked my brother once and I was like, did mom and dad ever say that to you? And you're like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I just want to translate really quick for some of the leaders that are listening so far, right? Here's something that really inspired me. One of our thought leaders said, she told a story too, right? She had about 20 people on her team and it was half and half. Every single one of the men negotiated on start at annual review and came for an off-cycle raise. Not one of the women did.
Yep.
And so what was really cool about what she did, and something that female leaders can do and male leaders can do who are listening to this podcast right now, she encouraged the women to go for it.
Yep.
Right? I get it. We have a financial responsibility. We're supposed to save money. We're supposed to get people as cheap as we can, which I think is bullshit. But listen, I'm a business owner. I'm not trying to give away 10 extra grand. That's tough.
Yeah.
That being said, right? Women need the tap on the shoulder and the encouragement. Yeah. So encourage them to negotiate with you and teach them those skills and teach them to ask it. Here's how it pays off for you as a business owner. You won't lose them.
Yep.
Because they will have that lunch eventually and they will find out. I didn't have the same story as you, Ashleigh. I was a director in my company. There were 20 other directors. They were all men. I was at about 60% of their salary.
And that is without a doubt the common story. And
that's it. I was done.
Yeah.
I was done.
And the other, I had coffee with a sales manager here in Portland. This is now like a couple of years ago, but it's a story that's just really stuck with me. And she's was an SDR manager, and she'd been in sales at this point for almost, 15, 20 years. And she said, she was like, I can name 9 different men that I trained and I coached that are VPs, and I'm a manager.
Yeah. And listen, it's a heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
But we have to own what we can own. Okay?
Absolutely.
And that means we have to support each other in having the conversation. Because the next question I've learned to ask, I didn't in the past, but what I've learned through Girls Club to ask her is, how often did you raise your hand?
Exactly.
Who did you talk to about what you wanted out of your career? How did you advocate for yourself?
Yeah.
And then the other lesson we can teach here, one more time, I'm going to translate for the leaders listening, right? The women are waiting for a tap on the shoulder. I'm doing my part to teach them to raise their hands, but I need you to do your part too. Okay.
Yeah.
When you go and encourage a woman to apply for a position, it's like a magic freaking button, right? 20 seconds of encouragement. And these women take off like freaking rockets.
Seriously. They're just waiting for the door to be ajar and they will barrel through. Like, that's the thing that's amazing about women, and especially women in sales.
Oh yeah.
You have to make it clear that the door is ajar.
Yeah. Ladies, the door is ajar.
Yeah.
And we do surveys in Girls Club about why haven't you applied? Right.
Oh God.
And here are your top answers, right? I don't feel like I've mastered this role. That's confidence. I don't feel like I'm ready for the next role. That's confidence.
Yep.
And a lack of opportunities at my company. I got to be honest. That's confidence.
That's confidence too.
And what that means for me, that third one, is that, I look around and sometimes it's legitimate, right? Like, there's 2 managers here and they all have 800 years of experience and I've been in the job a minute. It ain't going to happen here, right? I get that.
Yeah.
But for others, it's because there is that one female seat.
Yeah.
Oh, there's only one woman in management, right? And
she's
great. You're not competing with her for her seat.
The
right?
other thing too, and we've interviewed a couple of different people on this podcast who have talked about how they basically created their own roles.
Yep.
Micah is this great example where he was an SDR, realized that the research he did and the way he pulled reports, he was like, I'd be awesome at demand gen. And I have this way of giving the SDRs information that they need that marketing doesn't do for us. He found a company that did not have a demand gen person, and he made his case, and they created an entire role for him. And frankly, my
promotions have happened that way.
Yeah.
Created.
And that's the thing.
Especially
if you're in a fast growing company, you can make the case for the thing that you want to do. You just have to freaking do it.
Well, and I can take that a step further. When I was at Okta, so big unicorn, lovely, lovely company, on the whole, does a really good job with a lot of amazing things, great support, actually does pretty well with diversity and stuff like that. And it's the only time in my life there was actually a point where the SDR leadership team was all women, which was the first time in my life that had happened, which was really cool. There are 2 teams within Okta that exist because an SDR went and pitched a role, did the role, and was so successful. Those have become teams of, I think one is 4 or 5 and one is almost 10 people, that they are now running those teams.
Yeah, I love those.
One is running it. Another one decided, I don't want to do this and go do something else, but they uncovered the business need. And one of the people was a woman and one of the people was a guy, but there are needs all over the place. And it's interesting because we talk about confidence, we talk about negotiation and stuff like this. I was great when I came in. I suck at I was so unconfident about raises. I was so unconfident about promotions. I was so unconfident about, even we interviewed one of the women on this podcast. I went back and I reached out to her now, she was the top rep at the company, Chelsea Strong, top rep at this company. She was absolutely amazing. I was so intimidated by her. She wasn't the only woman, but she was the one who was the most visible.
She was the woman. She was the woman.
She was the woman. Seriously, this is the woman, number 1 rep in the company, always getting dragged up on stage, always seemed super uncomfortable with it, but absolutely brilliant. Just brilliant. You just knew, one of those women who you just know, she knows everything and is the master of her domain. And I never had the confidence to go up to her and be like, hi, can I be like you? How do I become you? I never had the confidence to go up to her and ask that question. So it's interesting because you can have confidence and know what you're doing in some areas, and in other areas, just I was sitting back in the corner going, same thing. No one tapped me on the shoulder. And finally someone did tap me on the shoulder. They didn't tap me on the shoulder. They smacked me over the head and said, you should be a manager. And by the way, we're moving you to Utah.
Was it a man or a woman who smacked you?
Both, man and a woman. So the woman who hired me and the man who replaced him.
That's fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear
So,
that.
but it was a smack because it was basically both of them. It
Yeah.
was the guy did it first, and then I went to the woman. I was like, I don't know, and she's like, "You're an idiot. Go do it."
That's good. We need that. That's the encouragement button. We did a webinar with Girls Club. God, it was last year already. And it was how to ask for the promotion.
Yeah.
It was literally step by step. How do you go have that conversation? Because I was a wussy too. Like I went and got myself new jobs. And it sort of is. I was confident, just like you, Ashleigh, at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. But then what? And it's how to have the I want a career conversation. It's how to convince them to go and do it, how to represent yourself, how to make the benefit for the company.
Yes.
And here's what I learned in doing that. So many women, when they go in after it, they bring the baggage. We bring I've been here 20 years, trained 3 VPs. You've passed me over 17 times. I deserve it because I'm fab. Like we're passive aggressive. That's what the definition is, right? We've been passive for 3 years. And now we're going to be aggressive about it. I have a dog that's dying to go out of my office. I'm going to let him out so he doesn't barking. Come on, Boo. Go get him. Good boy. I just opened the door and I get it now. I smell bacon.
Oh, I'm a baby.
No dummy. I smell bacon. Anyway, that's like one of the girls in Girls Club, in fact, she was a mentor, right? Sent me the email she was going to send her boss. And it read that way. It really read and his response was right on. Like his response was basically like, wow, if you're this dissatisfied in the company, maybe we need to be having a different conversation. Not her intention, but we sort of feel like we have to oversell ourselves and we have to justify the why. And for so many of us, it comes with the story of, here's how I've been put upon up to now. Here's how I've been passed over. And we got to leave that out of it. That's not helping us.
You know, I think that is such a good point. And that we do carry that baggage. We do carry this, like, here's the thing. And I mean, let's be honest, this is the conversation that I've had multiple times in therapy of like, I have this tendency to not speak out when I don't want to make someone uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And so I won't say something that I want to say or something especially associated with like my value or something that I need if I think it's going to make someone uncomfortable. But guess what winds up happening? I keep my mouth shut until I frickin' can't. Yeah. And then it reaches this tipping point where I'm resentful and bitter, but like I haven't told them. So how the hell are they supposed to know? And it creates this sort of toxic engagement. And I think we all do that kind of in our careers in a way that like, that does not serve us.
Are you kidding? I do it in my marriage.
Oh, I mean, like, it's much easier in marriage and romantic relationships.
Norms. Of our communication style.
Yeah.
And listen, I'll tell you to go deeper on that.
Oh yeah.
The three of us are strong women, right? I'm sure we've had a different experience than many. Yeah. And as a strong woman, I'll tell you that early in my career, it became a huge shock to me that everybody thought I was a bitch. And now at Girls Club, we talk about that being a step on your path. It's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Right? Have you had the bitch conversation yet?
Yep.
And because it is a step on the way. Our social norms, our media, right, teaches people that powerful women, right, are either actually sex pots with a hair and makeup and wardrobe budget, right, or cunning, conniving bitches.
Yeah.
And we don't have the role models of the successful and smart woman who is assertive, right? You've got passive, you've got aggressive, and you've got assertive in the middle. And when you are assertive as a woman, it is unfortunately so uncommon historically that you're taken as aggressive. And an aggressive woman's name is a bitch.
Yep.
Right? An aggressive man's name is powerful. Yeah. And that's just, it's who we are and where we are. And we've got to be okay with that.
I love it because I actually have it as a life goal. I really want someone to call me a ball buster.
Oh yeah.
I have not had the bitch conversation yet. I look forward to it. I look forward to it. It means it's probably happened behind my back, but it hasn't happened in my face yet. I look forward to that day. But I don't want bitch, I want ball buster. Like that's
Big
kind of the
difference.
title. I've told a few people, like, because that'll tell me that I know that I've stepped on just enough toes that I'm not leaving anything on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite version of that is badass.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like that's done. Yeah.
So
Nothing wrong
I
with
have a question, because I keep thinking about something that Ashleigh said, that when she was in awe of Chelsea Strong, she didn't have the confidence to go up to her and be like, hey, how do I be like you?
Yeah.
Something that I've noticed, and when I really started to notice this is on LinkedIn. I very randomly had one video like 2 years ago on LinkedIn go viral. And like overnight, I had like thousands of men send me connection requests, and very few women. And I wound up like spending a couple of hours counting, and it was like 75% of the connection requests were from men and 25% were from women. Every single woman's one had a message attached with it, like kind of making the case of why I should connect with her, and none of the men's did.
We're
And
justifying.
right? And I started to think about this more and more. I feel like women, we always feel like we need a really, really good answer or really good reason to ask someone that we admire or we respect or we want to know or whatever a question, or to connect with them in some way. Like we need this justification. And I'm wondering, like, how do you coach women that they don't freaking need that we don't need to make a case just to connect with someone or to reach out or to try to find a mentor, or like you don't have to like put together a law review in order to do this, right?
Yeah.
Or even something as simple as convincing them to take advantage of the resources in Girls Club. Because that's one of the things I found is even difficult, is sometimes just getting people to, it's so easy to talk yourself into, oh, I'm not ready. I just started.
Are you kidding? That's our number one problem. Like the thing we're trying to solve is the hardest thing we have in getting people in. Like it's a funnel. We had thousands, almost 10,000 people hit our website of get more information when we first launched. Right.
Oh my God,
and you know how many applications we got? About 15.
Oh my God. Okay. So
we had to go out and tap and encourage. And the women who were hesitant, right, we gave them the magic tap on the shoulder and they took off like rockets. But any group has a normal curve, right? I've got a bottom 20% in Girls Club who are hiding. They don't come to the live meetings. They don't make connections. They don't. Now, maybe they're busy and crazy. And, you know, I don't want to blanketly say, here's the reason why, but we see that. We're justifying, we don't speak up, right? But I've got a top 20% who take advantage of everything, right? And a few that'll reach out to me, and now we're text friends, and we're, you know, like, I love that. And they're willing to take that risk. So your question was, how do you address it, right?
Yeah. Like what kind of coaching, what kind of advice, like how do you get women to be like, oh no, I don't have to put so much work in just to
I deserve this.
I deserve this. Bingo. I don't think it's a magic bullet. I got to be honest with you. I think
I'm sure it's not. Everything's more complex than that.
So one of the first things you do is you give them a community where they can find their voice, which is why it's Girls Club and not Sales Club. Really cool study I read recently that basically said, unless women are 4 out of the 5 people at the table, they won't speak up and speak an equal amount as the men, right? The other part of that study was saying that women get interrupted and pushed out of conversations 2 to 3x what the men do. So we've been culturally taught, right, that we do have to justify and that we shouldn't speak up and that we're not going to be taken seriously, that we're not, right? It's just, it's where we are. So when we surround and have meetings with just women, the women who do speak up maybe never have before.
Yeah.
Right. Then we give them the role models where they're watching women make those requests. They're hearing stories of, here's how I went and found this mentor. Here's how I went and connected with, here's how I got the promotion. So we're normalizing it and giving them space that's safe to find their voice. Then we're giving them the mentor and letting them have that experience so that it's easier to ask for it the next time. Okay. Like it's already set up. You don't have to go ask the person to, it's their job. They volunteered to be here to help you. And the proteges are nervous as hell the first couple meetings. They don't know what to do. And by the end, they found this friend for life. They know that the mentor is getting as much out of it as they are. It becomes normal to them.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thread in what I'm saying is when you teach them the skills of how to have the conversations, that's what we're doing in the confidence leg of the stool. Then when you give them a community where they can find their voice in a safe place, and then you show them it's normal, then it helps. There's one other magic thing. This is the part that has the most magic to the bullet, and it's in our confidence leg of the stool. We do everything we can to quash perfectionism and encourage risk-taking. And that builds confidence. Okay. So one of the reasons we justify is that it's like, oh, it's just little old imperfect me asking, I've built you up on this pillar perfect you. And it's bullshit. So we do two things to do that. We grab these pillar thought leaders, right? We do deep interviews with them. It's like Oprah's couch kind of thing. We call it Wine Down Wednesday, although we've never pulled it off on a Wednesday. I still drink wine during it though. Anyway, and we ask stories. The last one we did was with Judy Buckles, who's been SVP at IBM, general manager. She's badass. She's 2 levels from the top, and she's been there 20 years. And she told us about confidence crises. She told us about fears. She told us about mistakes. She told us about discrimination. Like, these people aren't perfect either. And that's the big jaw-dropping shock.
Yep.
Then we have the thought leaders, our mentors, and I do it every single month. We record these confessionals called Rise Up on Record. And basically it's a fear, a failure, or a fuck up. And
that's awesome.
We just talk about things we've screwed up. And it's that's the silver bullet that makes the biggest difference in women realizing that it's okay. Oh, they're not perfect either.
Yeah.
And wow, they're not any different than me. I thought I was the fraud in the room. None of us have it together. Isn't that refreshing to know? So why not me?
Well, and it's how you bounce back from that stuff too. Cause it's not just, I mean, it's guys screw up just as much as we do, but it doesn't, and this is such a huge broad generalization. I hate saying it, but they don't put that perfectionism on themselves the same way that women do. I mean, and you look at it even by the fact that, I mean, literally, the 5 minutes before we started, I'm putting makeup on because I'm not comfortable unless I know my face looks the way at least I want it to look. There's that element of perfectionism that's ingrained in us at a young age. And when you screw up, it's so much easier to just dive into yourself and feel like if I can, like, I mean, I'll give you, like, I missed an email. I told the client I would send them an email on Friday. He pinged me yesterday and said, you haven't sent the email yet. I totally forgot. Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, so like, pause for 1 second. How many cycles of shame did you do before you let yourself off the hook? Or are you still there?
I'm 24 hours later. I still haven't sent the email. The cycle of shame was so strong. I wanted to make sure I finished what I was doing so I could really write the email and do it right and do it perfectly so I could actually get through it.
You're killing yourself.
I know.
Here,
and
right?
I know I'm making it worse. And this is not the first time I've done this.
And it's a day since you've known it and you haven't stopped thinking about it.
Yep.
Did you wake up in a panic and a pit in your stomach?
Yes, but I think that was probably because my husband left CNN on. So
fair. Totally fair. Yeah. And I will tell you that when I record my Rise Up on Records, I find recent mistakes and fears and talking about them, like, you're going to feel better as soon as you're done with this, Ashleigh. Like this, we do this and we round on it and we focus on what we've screwed up and we just got to call it and let it go. And when you hear that other people make mistakes too, then it's like, oh yeah, got it. And as I've been doing that, it's helped so much. It's fewer cycles of shame. I don't get stomach aches about it. I let myself off the hook and I focus outward and onward instead. But it wasn't until I started sharing it and hearing other people and hearing how it helped that it made it okay. So what's happening in Girls Club in that confidence area is unlearning right alongside it. My secret passion when I was little was to be a motivational speaker and to help young women with confidence. Like, I always knew that's what I wanted to do one day. and be when I grew up. But it went something like this, like, well, first I have to figure it out. Then I'm going to have to like sell Factor8 and figure out the time to go and do this. Right. And then I'm going to get it together. And this is what I'll do in the back 9 of my life. By the way, there. And in Girls Club kind of came to me as this sort of dream of like, oh my God, it's the bridge.
Yeah.
It's the bridge. And I was really scared to do it because I don't have it figured out. And I got this sort of feeling that was like, listen, if I could have the balls, to use your word, to learn out loud.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to go on this journey of building my confidence, maybe other people could actually learn from it too. I had this hunch that other people felt the way I did.
You'll love that. There's a great Eleanor Roosevelt quote. It's, life is too short to make all of the mistakes. So make sure you learn from the mistakes of others. And I'm probably horribly mangling it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Isn't she also the one that said no one can make you feel inferior without your permission?
Without your consent.
Yep.
Yeah, I like her. She's good people. But that's the thing. We're all on the journey, and talking about it out loud gives us permission to be okay and to be imperfect.
Well,
quash the perfectionism. I think we'll see that it's a correlation. As perfectionism goes down, risk taking goes up.
yes. It's also, the thing that I think about a lot is we're always nervous about kind of being vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
And admitting some sort of weakness in public because or some mistake or some, I don't know, concern weakness or whatever, because we're so worried that other people will view us as weak or as a failure. Right. But when you see other people do it, like the number one reaction is, oh my God, they're so brave.
Yeah. Vulnerability
and
authenticity are 2 of our watchwords.
Yeah. And we're able to see that with others, but it's so hard to then have that kind of mirror to see it with ourselves that like, no, it's actually brave when I do that. And when you do it, and the few times that I have, it's like the response usually is people being like, oh my God, you get a direct message. Oh my God, I totally going through the same thing. I didn't know. This makes me feel so much better. And I sort of wish more people would be willing to not make that a direct message so that we could all recognize that everyone's kind of having the same reaction.
But we're afraid to.
But we're afraid to.
I want to start like a Friday hashtag, like fuck up Friday. Every Friday, what's one thing you fucked up this week?
I love that idea. Seriously. I love that. I promise.
I'll do it. I'm in. I've got something every week I screw up. I'm happy to start sharing that.
I think we've got something every day. Like, let's be honest.
Right? One of my first mentors and bosses and the man who made the biggest difference in my life, hi Bruce Myhawk, he said, LB, if you're not pissing people off, if you're not screwing things up, you're probably not trying hard enough.
Yep.
And that's so true. So you've got to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
We have to create a culture of where it's okay to be vulnerable and authentic. Yes. And I think that's the magic of Girls Club because people find us, right? We put our values out there and the right people are drawn to us. And I've never had a problem with a mentor. I've never had a problem with a thought leader. The right people come and create this culture of authenticity, of risk-taking, of imperfection, and it's beautiful.
I'll say, I think that's something that women can bring to sales culture as a whole. We can lead the way here. This is something that we are instinctively, I think, a little more willing to do. We're a little more willing to tear down. It's because it's uncomfortable for us to go out there and be like, check me out. I'm on the beach. I'm living my best life with my supermodel husband. We're not going to do that.
I hate those
stuff.
Women, don't you?
We're not going to do that stuff. We're going to be the one with the baby vomiting on the shoulder going, yep, this is sales life.
Yeah.
And I'm still making it happen.
Yeah. It's been so fun having everybody at home. Yeah. Girls Club's always been a virtual program, so we didn't miss a beat. But now we get to see everybody's kids. So when we had our first meeting, like way back in March 2020, for the people hearing this later, people were nervous about it. It was their very first, I'm going to be at home, and we camera bully all the time in Girls Club. And so we said, bring your babies, bring your fur babies. Let's do this. And there's this one woman, Lindsay, and I swear there are 3 kids climbing on her through every single meeting. And I am so in awe of her patience because I'd have murdered somebody by that stage.
No, I had a Zoom meeting.
Just ourselves.
I had a Zoom meeting a couple weeks ago, and I have a puppy right now. I have a 13-week-old puppy. And same thing, his daughter wandered into the room and started inserting herself in the conversation. And he and I need to finish up. So it basically turned into me grabbing the puppy and just holding the puppy. And she's talking to the puppy while I'm talking to her dad. And it was great because the puppy's totally engaged and happy I'm playing with him and shaking him around.
I love how humanity has come out.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. As we're recording this, we're in the middle of the riots that are happening in the middle of COVID right now. And I'll tell you something. I didn't want to say a thing about it. Who the hell am I to have I am a privileged white woman who's right. I've never had racism, a little discrimination. I'm not a victim of riots. I have two amazing Black women on my team, and one of them took me to task. And she was like, how do we not have a stance on this? How have you not said anything about this? And what I realized was that here was fear again. Yep. Right? So I have imposter syndrome, and it said to me, who am I to say something? Yep. Right? But that's one of the lessons you get as a leader of when it is your job to go out and say something. So to make it more interesting, I've got two Black women, a police officer's wife, and a man who was caught in a riot, all on the same team. And everybody's got a different viewpoint. Everybody's got different feelings about it. Here's what I think is great. I can't even say great about the situation because you guys are going to get hate mail, and I don't mean it like that. But for the first time ever, we are making room for everybody to be okay with their own thoughts and feelings about something. Yeah. Instead of, I have to make you wrong for me to be right. Yep. Okay. That's what I hate about the political scene. It's all about derision. It's all about division. Okay. I, in my heart, am shocked and appalled by the murder. Right. I'm also scared. I get why there's riots and disruption. Good for you. I get that. So I nobody's wrong except for the police officer.
Well, and there's also, and we also don't support the violent protests, the violence of the protests, the looting.
I didn't get that either. I totally didn't get that. I'm like, what does a murder have to do with looting an Apple store?
So the one thing I will say is but
I get it now.
It's really two factions. Yeah. And the vast majority of the protests have been very, very peaceful. Huge. And then there's these fringe factions that come in and they incite things. So one of the things I think is really important is to recognize that the vast majority of the protests, have been peaceful and respectful and focused on.
I get choked up and I get chills when I hear about people in the community blocking the windows and protecting the police officers. Here's the things I've learned in this that have been shocking. Okay. And a little bit on edge here, so forgive me. But thing number one was when we talk about fear and people who are caught in riots or fear for the police officer's wife, do you know what the Black woman taught me? That's how we feel all the time. Yeah. Okay. That made a connection for me. Then the second thing that helped me was this. It was a Washington Post article, and I'm trying to find it right now to reference it. But they basically taught me this, that the riots aren't about the Apple store. The riots are about disruption. Okay. Yeah. And every single major change that's happened in America has started with disruption.
Okay? The 1968 Civil Rights Act was passed on the 6th day of mass riots across our country.
The American Revolution.
Yes.
We have a really strong culture of uprising and disruption. And why is it okay for old white dudes to do it?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So there's two sides to this.
There are
27 sides to this. And for one of the first times, we're understanding and empathizing with all. I can hate the riots, but I can also hate what the police officer did.
Absolutely.
Not police versus. And I think that's something to tie it back horribly. I think that understanding, that compassion, that ability to let people be where they are and hear where they are, without trying to control, is a talent that women bring to the table as leaders. And I like that.
Absolutely.
And I think the other thing about this is it requires, just like the work that you do, it requires a little bit of the kind of self-education, because I realized about 1.5 years ago that I was quiet about sort of my allyship for people of color in a way that I am not quiet about literally anything else.
Yeah.
And I kind of started to be like, okay, why is this?
Yeah.
And I recognized that it was like, I was just terrified of saying the wrong thing and pissing
That's
people
exactly
off.
right. And that's what my teammate said to me. Like, if you're hesitant to speak out, the truth is, Lauren, you've probably got a little racism there you're not worried, you're not aware of.
And you're and you might, I don't know, subconsciously kind of know it, and you don't know how to deal with that. And like I still have a long way to go. I have lots to learn, and I'm still on that path. But like, one of the things that has super helped over the last like 1.5 years is that I just started reading a lot of books about race in America. And what I realized is there's a lot of them where it was like, one, it helped me better understand what is going on, but it also gave me the language to talk about these things, so that I was a little less afraid to say what I was thinking or ask a question.
Okay, so I got to bring this back again. What we're talking about right now is vulnerability.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
We don't want to say something because we're going to get it wrong. We're going to piss somebody off. We're going to be a target of judgment and hate.
Yep.
Okay. And to speak out takes that vulnerability. And right, you went and educated yourself because you thought, maybe I don't know everything. That's vulnerability. You're willing to speak up, even though you might get it wrong. That's vulnerability.
And that's the work that needs to be done.
That's the work that needs to be done. As long as we come from a place of, I want to add value and I want to learn, we're okay. Yeah. And guess what? And I'm okay if I mess it up. It takes.
I know I'm going to.
Bingo.
And that's part of this process of kind of learning and engaging and kind of evolving together is, and, you know, again, not to awkwardly tie it back to sales and business and careers, but really it's like, that's the whole name of the game when it comes to being the kind of person that we want to be. And this like personal growth is to know going into it, I'm going to fuck it up. And that's okay.
It's a chance to do it every single day when we're in sales, right? And there's so much to learn. You can't, right? And the best folks are out there.
And it changes all the time.
It's so true. Ashleigh, I'm looking at your face and something's changed. Do you have something unsaid in this caustic conversation?
I'm still very much in my own journey about this. And it's really interesting because I had a conversation with someone this morning and I'm still very much on the fence. And it's interesting. So like, just transparency, I have no clue if we're going to leave this in the recording or not. Like, it's June 3rd. We are really right in the middle of this. And I haven't done a lot on social media, but I am so excited and thrilled to see so many people speaking up and saying they support these things. My instinct has always been, I will do the work. I will put in the work, but I don't want to dilute the conversation and take attention away from people who it is their story to tell. Yeah. Like I said, I am a very privileged white girl. I am very aware of this. I have tried really hard to make sure I've got as diverse a group of friends. I'm exposed to these things. I'm educated on these issues. I'm doing the reading on this stuff, but I do that in my own time. And I do that personally.
Ashleigh, I get it.
Hard time.
Yesterday.
And it's this crazy thing around LinkedIn and stuff and I'm starting to see this now where I'm looking at some of the stuff this morning. There were a few posts of people coming out and it felt like them dropping receipts versus an actual authentic conversation. And so there's this bit of, I think for me, it's a bit of too, it's like, my family has deep, deep ties to World War II, specifically because they survived World War II in Germany and in Russia. So my family is losing their shit right now over what's going on in this country we fled this 50 years ago. And seeing it here is terrifying. And my grandparents are rolling in their graves. Yeah. And I am active and I'm doing all these things, but it's like, what I'm struggling with is where is the line between that professional and personal? What should, I want to make sure I'm known as an advocate. I want to make sure I'm known as an ally. I'm doing the right things. I don't want to take attention away from other things. I'd rather, if you're going to read 5 things on LinkedIn today, my post should not be one of them.
let me tell you,
that is these other thought leaders. So it's this 100%. Really weird.
Yeah, it's 100% where I was yesterday. So my post is going to go out in about an hour. And I had the team check it. I fought against it. Like when the team member I'm talking about first approached me, she's like, where's the company leadership in this? Yeah. And I was like, you mean a sales company taking a stand on a race matter? I don't understand why. Oh, you want a white woman to comment on this? Why? Right. I couldn't make that tie. Okay. Yeah. She came to me for leadership and I failed her. And here's where I've gotten to it now. I have an opportunity to give her a voice.
Yep.
And that's what she's looking for. She wants a stand out there. Now, I don't know that it's going to be the right stand, right? Because my stand in this is educate, hold opportunity for all sides, understand, right? And I wish I knew what to do next. And I hope I get some advice on that. But Ashleigh, early in the conversation, you said, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I don't know. Here's the thing. You don't have to pick a side.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first times in America we can say that.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's right and everybody's wrong. And we all have a gamut of emotions about it and how we're going to deal with it. And I think that as leaders in our own organizations, let alone kind of thought leaders or having a following, right? That's the social leaders like you ladies are. We just have to give people space for that. We have to, it's okay to be where you are.
Yeah.
Tell me what you need, right? And to help people not lash out. Because as we evolve as humans, right, the gamut of emotions, it starts early with anger, right? Like she lashed out at me with anger.
Yeah.
Did I deserve it? No. Does it matter? No, she's angry. God
she's
damn it,
allowed to be
right
that.
Yeah.
Right? So my job was to give her a place to push her anger for a little while. Happy to take it.
Yeah.
Well, like there are those kinds of things that we can do. And you know what? I hope that a month from now, we think about this conversation and be like, wow, we found 10 other things that we could do. Yeah. But I think it's okay to vulnerably and authentically admit I've got some ignorance. I had fear. I have mistakes I'm making, but I also have a responsibility that I didn't get that I needed to have. And that was my big learning this week. It was a really exciting week for that.
That is so powerful. And I'm not seeing this conversation or this angle of the conversation on LinkedIn. I am seeing it on Twitter, where a lot of kind of the Black thought leaders in my community are really talking repeatedly of, I see your silence and I will remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't know I had an
And I think a bunch about the Martin Luther King quote. In the end, I just pulled it up so I won't misquote it. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.
Oh, chills.
So it's not about saying like, I'm going to say something that's going to like impact the whole conversation and change everything. But it's saying like, I think the people that are genuinely on the fence of whether or not they support change in America, I think they're a lot more likely to be swayed by like, no, change really needs to happen, by seeing a flood from every single person they know of all walks of life saying, this is not okay. I don't have the answers, but here's my take, or here's what I feel, or here's what I want to see.
Kasey, that's brilliant. Like, can we go back to what we said earlier, right? I'm not ready to speak up. I'm not sure I have the confidence to raise my hand. I need to see role models. I need to see communities doing it, right? Yeah. And I hope very much that 3 weeks from now, we're hearing people with some solutions.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's going to say we don't need change.
No.
Right? But we just don't know what it is yet. I don't know what to advocate for. So all I can advocate for right now is it's okay to have your opinion. Listen, right? Don't make somebody wrong. You don't. Somebody else doesn't have to be wrong for you to be right.
I also, I'm going to find it. I bookmarked it last night. But there was an article, I want to say it came out in Mashable, that was like the practical steps that tech companies can take to not just have a statement on Twitter, but actually play
that's
a
what we're
role
looking
in the
for.
change. And like, I think that's the thing that we're going to start to see over the coming days. Mm-hmm. And I have a good friend who she just recorded a YouTube video last night, which we can also share in the notes of like, what are the practical things that we can do.
I'm excited
like the
for
stuff
that
you can do to kind of get involved immediately.
Yeah. I'm excited for that next step.
Yeah.
It's
And I think we're
hard to
really
be
close
okay.
to starting to see those things of people being like, okay, we've kind of gotten, we know how this is. You have to like have your cathartic, get the emotion out before then you're like, okay, now
let's get practical.
Now let's get to work. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no,
I think we're going to start to see those things.
I'll say is I was really deeply impressed. One of my clients, they have an SDR and an AE in the US, but they're an Australian company. And the SDR is a person of color who lives in Milwaukee. Or sorry, no, that's Minneapolis, lives in Minneapolis. So right at the epicenter. And this CEO had a conversation with this employee and said, do you need a couple days? Unprompted.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I told them and I reached out to him and said, I thank you for doing that.
Yeah. That's something we can do.
Yeah. Just to give him the space just to figure out, to feel the things that are feeling. And same thing. I said, hey, whatever I could do to support and whatever else. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. And I keep thinking of, there's this, it's, no one really knows where it's from, but it's like the John Stuart Mill and John F. Kennedy's used it. And it's a few other people, but it's the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah.
It's sometimes
stand by and do nothing. It's Edmund Burke.
Yeah. So it's, it's that stuff. And that's where like we think about like kind of what I'm thinking about what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do. That's the angle. If I'm going to do anything, it's going to be that. Yeah. And that's it's going to be focusing on not doing nothing, but making sure that it's practical, making sure it's amplifying the voices that have the stories that are
smarter than
understood.
Us. Yeah. What we can do is understand the difference. Can I tell you another perspective I learned yesterday? Yeah. My other Black female on the team, totally different stance, right? She didn't have anger. But listen to this. Like, first of all, from her situation, you have to understand, she just recovered from COVID. Oh. Her husband had face surgery. She's got a baby and she's homeschooling and trying to work from home, like in a small apartment with 5 people.
Superwoman. Got it.
This woman is already up to here, right? And then she sent the funniest email to everybody, like, because I said, hey, what do you need, right? And she was like, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I'm Black, right? And guess what that means? I feel a pressure from my community to go out and join the protests and the riots. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I never thought of it. Of course she does.
Of course she does.
And guess what? She's got this guilt. She's like, are you kidding me? I'm keeping my family afloat. I've got babies at home. Yeah. This isn't the time and place in my life to do it.
Yeah.
And I hope I get another chance.
Yeah.
And that inspires me.
It really does.
I get that. She has a pressure to do it. Now, the woman who is up all night because her police officer husband is trying to keep the family safe, and there's been threats in my community of homes being broken into, of police officers. She's not wrong either. No, she's scared to death. That doesn't make my BDR who needs to protest wrong. No, it doesn't make my graphic designer who's scared and pissed off wrong.
No.
Right? The scary part is they probably believe the 3 of them are wrong. And that's my job as the leader, is to try and give them a space and find out what they need.
So I will say, I literally started listening to it this morning while I was getting dressed, but I just started listening to the audiobook of How to Have Impossible Conversations.
Oh yeah, good.
And it is all about this, of like, how do you have conversations with someone that wholeheartedly disagrees with you, and do it in a way where you can actually have a conversation and not yelling at one another.
I'd love to learn more about it, but here's what I've learned so far. If you go in with a genuine need to, or desire to add value and to learn. Mm-hmm.
The thing that they've already said in the book that has really resonated is, he said, are you going into the conversation viewing the other person as a partner or an adversary?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, that helps. So I think there's a lot of us out here wondering what we can do. And I think even those who aren't at a leadership level, right? Am I supposed to call my Black friends and make sure they're okay? Am I supposed to, like, what are we don't know. So
we don't know.
But take action anyway is what we're hearing, isn't it? It's okay to be wrong.
Yeah. And I saw one thing on Twitter that has really stuck with me. It was funny too. She said, can we now replace the 5 minutes at the start of every Zoom call where we talk about COVID and instead talk about systemic racism in the tech industry.
That's a great idea. There's
and I was like, oh my God, like, could we start every conversation of like, hey, how do you feel about this? What are you doing in your organization? What are you thinking?
Here's what I've done this week to better educate myself. What have you guys done?
Yeah.
I love it. That's a good practical tip and takeaway. I'm sorry that I took this wrong turn. I can't remember how it was a great turn. It wasn't the purpose of what we were doing.
Yeah. So people who want to learn more about Girls Club, who maybe think this is an opportunity for them and maybe want to get involved either as a mentor or as a
protege,
protege. Thank you. I love that, by the way.
Yeah,
I hate mentee.
Mentee is not an actual word.
I feel like a manatee.
Yeah,
it's right? An actual word.
And manatees are awesome. Don't get me wrong. I used to live in Miami, but it's mentor and protege. It's not mentee.
I like that.
But how can they find out more information? How can they reach out, maybe get involved, all the rest?
You can find a Girls Club page on LinkedIn by searching for #GirlsClub. And you can find our website at wearegirlsclub.com. Now that's important because if you go to girlsclub.com at work, you're probably going to get in trouble. wearegirlsclub.com. And because we couldn't do a finale conference this year, scheduled for June 2020, we are doing something different called Summer Camp. And Summer Camp is a free 3-month extension of Girls Club. It's Girls Club Light. Nothing's required. You won't necessarily have a one-on-one mentor, but we're putting people in leadership pods of small communities of thought leaders, mentors, and proteges. We're still doing some training of competencies. We'll still have confidence. We'll still have community. We'll still have spotlight. But it's basically the program at let's call it 50% over 3 months. So if you want to test out getting involved as a mentor with lower commitment, if you want to test out what's this community look like and feel like, if you want to come in and build a case to get your company to fund you to come later, Summer Camp's the time. It starts July 1st, 2020. If you're listening to this afterwards, come find out about us anyway. We'll be starting our 3rd cohort soon.
Yay.
Awesome. All right. And on that note, this is not the end, but this is the lightning round. So there's going to be a couple.
I forgot about the lightning round.
I know. Drop some sound effects in there. But so there's a bunch of rapid fire questions designed to be just quick answers. First thing that comes to your mind, a little bit of light levity to end this thing on. So starting it off.
You should know I have no idea what's coming. This is not one of those fake lightning rounds where they sent me the questions.
No, although if anyone who comes on the show, we ask the same questions every time, but it's fine. So
first question. I have not done my research.
Yeah.
No, because you weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
All right.
So first question. What's your morning routine?
My favorite morning routine is I typically don't wake up with an alarm. So the light starts to happen. The animals get hungry somewhere between 5 and 7. I pee.
Very important step.
Yeah.
I get coffee. I haven't brushed my teeth yet. And typically in a robe, if the house isn't up yet, I love coming back to my office and pounding out an hour or 2 of something that's passionate to me.
Awesome.
Like Girls Club was built between the hours of 4 and 7 a.m. because I wasn't busy running the rest of the company, right? Then the babies start to wake up, everything starts to happen. So somewhere in that 7:30 range, I'm making some breakfast and feeding animals and whatnot. I did something for myself this last year, and I blocked every single morning from 8 to 9 a.m. where I take no meetings.
Oh, awesome.
Which means I'm either with my family, homeschooling during COVID, taking some sort of a walk. I'd like to tell you I'm doing yoga and meditation, and I still have that goal. It never freaking happens.
Let me know if you want an accountability buddy there, because I am right there with you for needing to do something in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so pick one person who's had a significant impact on your career.
I told you about Bruce Myhawk earlier. I'm going to say Sherry Leviton. Sherry is in Women's Sales Pros. She is an author and a speaker. She's smart as shit, high energy, and somebody I've had on a pedestal. And she found me at Women's Sales Pros. She says, I think I get you. I think that you're a younger me. Now, the sad part of the story is that she looks younger than I do. But she encouraged the hell out of me to get Girls Club started. She came and spoke for free. She helped make connections. She she became rocket fuel behind this crazy idea that I had. And it came out of nowhere. I don't think I've ever felt so special. in my life. And then when we did our finale conference, I mean, I stayed at her home to check it out. Like, this is somebody going above and beyond.
Incredible.
And it's inspired me to try to do that for others. And I don't think Girls Club would be here for real, or certainly not as big as it is without her.
All right. What's your pump up song?
Oh, I do have a few. The number one is Walking on Sunshine. You just can't be in a bad mood.
No.
I regularly do dance parties in my kitchen with my boys. Like they're in their little underoos and I'm in my robe and I'm making breakfast. And I usually pick Meghan Trainor for that.
Yeah.
Like, she's just got so many, right?
She does.
Like, no, I gotta, I go with no a lot of times. You just feel like a badass. My name is
awesome.
No.
What's one thing you wish you learned earlier?
That I'm just okay right where I am.
I love that.
That's
that's what I say to my boys at night. We have a routine, right? Daddy says, love you, miss you all night. And then they say, see you in the morning. And I say, I love you forever and ever, just the way you are, no matter what. Because I didn't accept myself for who I was until my late 30s.
Yep.
Oh God, you're bringing me back to my childhood. There's a child's book. I'll find it up. It's like, I love you forever, something and always, as long as you're living, my baby, you'll be. Like, and I'm butchering that, but total flashback. She did that like every night for like years. And I really should be able to remember what it was.
But you are remembering it, and you're remembering the message behind
Yep.
it. And that tears me up a little bit.
No, I know. Okay. What's your favorite sales book?
There's so many. Yeah, there really are. There's so many. And I have women that I love and admire. So I can't tell you just one. I'm going to tell you everything that Jill Conrath has written is amazing. Sherry Levitin, obviously, Heart and Sell, pardon me. And I really like Trish Bertuzzi's book on sales development playbook. That's my space, right? In the inside sales industry. I think they've done an amazing job there. But I've been shaped, and my curriculum's been shaped for years from really great things. I did love Challenger. I did love Spin. Way back, question-based selling, value-based selling, anything that Simon Sinek writes. It's life, but isn't that applicable to sales? So I know, horrible answer. I'm sorry, I can't give you.
No,
These are not horrible.
The message is read more.
And all of these will be linked to on our shopping page on Amazon that you can buy through affiliate links. So send all the numbers, all the books you'd like.
What's one way someone could have been a better ally to you?
Wow. All right. You said first answer.
Yeah.
So early in the conversation, we were talking about the compensation lunch. Everybody does one. I learned that I was the lowest paid director in the company from my work husband. We all have one, right? Yep. We were work married for 5 or 6 years together. He's still a great friend. He's an amazing powerhouse of a man. And he told me the truth of it. And it wasn't until just now when you asked that question, I was like, yeah, he could have done more, right? Yeah. If he knew it were true, and he was a level or two higher than me, right? So I was a director and he was a VP, maybe he was a senior VP by then. Why didn't he advocate?
Yep.
Why didn't he, when he learned it, said,
this isn't okay. This is
bullshit. And I'll tell you the why, because people weren't having those conversations then.
No.
Right? I don't fault him for it.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be great if he had?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So spinning it around again, what's one way that you're working to be a better ally to others?
I kind of feel like this is everything that you do.
Yeah.
Like, I found my why in the last year or two, right? Since starting Girls Club. And it goes like this, like my mission is to change lives. And we do that by helping people be and feel more successful at work, right? We don't just improve sales skills or management skills. We teach them how to be more successful sooner. We change the trajectory of careers. We build confidence. We help people go home feeling good about themselves. And that's my mission, whether it's management training at Factor8 or confidence building at Girls Club or webinars or whatever it is. It's about human development to go and feel better. So I think that's how I'm trying to be an ally, is not with the same old message, but saying like, we need whole human development, right? Girls Club isn't just about, oh, here's management skills. It's, I recognize you have a confidence gap, and I'm going to be your ally by sharing that I do too. Let's fight it together and change lives.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, what's your guilty pleasure at the end of a long day?
A cigarette.
Oh,
Closet smoker.
What do you smoke?
It's been on and off for years. It's the dumbest thing in the world to do because I have chronic health issues. I have Lyme disease.
Oh, me too. We're going to have to talk about that. Yep.
And we have a follow-up episode.
Yeah, we will talk about that.
Oh, I cannot wait. Kasey, there are very few of us.
There are very few of us.
Yep. Anyway, I'm a closet smoker. So like Friday night, I open a bottle of Prosecco, a bag of white cheddar popcorn, and a pack of cigarettes. And I sit outside on my porch and I hide from my children and I read a book and just do a little cycle.
I love it because that's me, but instead of the Prosecco, it's gin, and I do a cigar.
Now you see, that just sounds sexier. That's just cool.
It's way cooler.
Right?
It is really funny during the whole COVID thing. I used to be a smoker for years and I haven't in a while. I have been craving, like when I see someone smoke in a TV show right now, every time. Yes. And, you know, like I live with someone who grows marijuana for a living. So we're that kind of household. And all the time, you know, my boyfriend is smoking a joint and I'm like, God, I just really kill for like one Parliament light.
Yeah, nice.
And
nice. I moved on to American Spirit, so I'm smoking healthy cigarettes.
That are like 4 cigarettes in one.
See, and I growing up, I was the nerdy kid who would cough when she walked by a smoker, and I ended up married to a smoker who has now switched to e-cigs. But that's how I got into cigars. I've discovered there's something about the smell of a cigarette.
I don't know how to not inhale a cigar, so they just make me super nauseous. I can't smoke
cigarette smoker and you do a cigar, you will inhale.
You'll inhale. And if you've had a drink before, you're gonna feel really, really horrible. See,
and I can't inhale because I have asthma.
Good.
So cigars are great for me because I literally can't. I will cough it up in 5 seconds.
Well,
so
listen,
it's
the whole
really
thing is stupid. No matter what we're smoking, it's awful, but I've got many vices and guilty pleasures.
That's why it's a guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasures cannot be healthy.
And I hide it. Like I travel with hand sanitizer that's smelly, and like if I'm at a conference, right? Like right before I go on and speak, I'm in the back by the dumpsters, hiding. I have a special jacket so no one will recognize me. The hair goes in a ponytail so you can't smell it. I carry Febreze, Listerine strips, and smelly hand sanitizer. Like I'm a non-smoker who smokes. I have a lot of guilt about that.
Yeah. That's the note we end on.
This is real talk right here.
This was absolutely incredible. We covered a lot of ground here.
Holy crap. I'm sorry that we went so long. Good luck, editor. Sorry.
Don't be sorry at all. I think this is going to be super valuable to our audience. And we will include all the links to your websites and ways to get in touch with you in the show notes. You and I are going to have some follow-up conversations. Anybody that's listening, thank you so much for listening to this. I'm sure you got lots and lots of gems and pearls of wisdom. Please go look up Girls Club. And if this was valuable, please share it with your friends. Give us a review. And we are still, we might not be when this airs, but if we are.
So stay tuned for the results from the State of Sales survey.
Stay tuned for the results from the State of Sales survey.
I'll be really eager to see that.
Yeah.
Good. You guys, this was so much.
This was amazing.
You're so real and authentic. And I love that. It made it, I just think 10 times more powerful.
The feeling is very mutual.